Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and welcome to our 2017 NFL season preview for the New York Jets. Now here's a look at what we have on tap for this preview. We will take a look at both sides of the ball in our offensive and defensive overview. We will also give you a reason for optimism as well as a cause for concern. And we will give you a breakout candidate who is an underrated player that'll end up playing a huge role this season. But first, let's take a look at some of the big storylines heading into the season as we get things kicked off in our 4-minute offense. The biggest question regarding the New York Jets this season is at the most important position on the field, the quarterback. The Jets have 3 options in Josh McCown, Bryce Petty, and Christian Hackenberg, and the hope is that they can settle in on one and that person can play consistent quality football for the entire season. Now, you can make a case for all 3 of them to start, and if it were me, it would be Christian Hackenberg. Put him out there and give him the live game reps that a player needs to get better, because if Todd Bowles is on the proverbial hot seat this year, then he should go out there with the quarterback that the front office chose for him to be their franchise guy. You can't get a good evaluation on a player that never plays, and if he fails, you can always fall back on the veteran Josh McCown. In an attempt to pump some life into a defense that struggled last season, the Jets added some new coaches on that side of the ball for 2017. Pro Football Hall of Famer Kevin Green will coach up the outside linebackers. Denard Wilson was named secondary coach. Robert Nunn and Leroy Glover were added to get the defensive line to play up to its immense potential. And we'll see if these changes can get the Jets defense back to their dominant ways. We've seen a youth movement on this football team over the last season. Gone are guys like DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Nick Mangold, David Harris, Brandon Marshall, and Eric Decker. And in comes players like Demario Davis, who actually returns to the Jets after a short stint with the Cleveland Browns, Calvin Beachum, Mike Pennell, and Morris Claiborne. Now, the Jets hope that this transition to younger players can help them keep the execution at a high level, in addition to continuity with guys that are going to grow together within this scheme. It seems like Todd Bowles has been on the hot seat since he arrived here in New York. Fair or unfair, Bowles has to show progress with this team this season. Granted, a head coach can only do so much, but there isn't an excuse for the defensive side of the ball, where his specialty lies, to be struggling like it did last season. I think that's where you're going to expect to see some of the biggest improvement with this squad, and if he shows it there, I'm willing to bet that he'll get a pass on an offense that may be shorthanded at the quarterback position from an overall talent perspective. Right now, everyone's record is at 0-0, and every fan is excited about the 2017 season, and every coach feels as though that this year's team has the right mix of everything to push them over the top. Well, here's why you should be optimistic about the 2017 season. One of the reasons for optimism about the 2017 New York Jets is their defensive talent. This team on paper has some impressive talent at all 3 levels of their defense, and this is a defense that boasts the likes of Muhammad Wilkerson, Leonard Williams, and Sheldon Richardson. You can also toss in the young and up-and-comers like Darren Lee, Jordan Jenkins, Lorenzo Malden, and valuable vets like Marcus Williams, Buster Screen, and Morris Claiborne. It's hard not to get excited about this defense this season. And we can't forget about rookie safety Jamal Adams, who has star potential and should showcase that star potential day one as the starter on the back end. You can also be optimistic about the Jets tight end core. In my opinion, this is an impressive, versatile group with Austin Seferian-Jenkins and rookie tight end Jordan Leggett, who was my #1 rated inline tight end prospect in this draft class. And when you have one tight end, you're very hard to defend. And if you have 2, you're next to impossible to stop. You can make a case for the Jets having 3, with Brian Parker coming over from Kansas City and also the recent signing of Chris Gregg via free agency. This can help make any quarterback comfortable in a passing game. Contrary to popular belief, the Jets do have some good young offensive talent on the roster. They drafted Chad Hansen, Darius Stewart, and Elijah McGuire in this year's draft. They also have a talented undrafted rookie free agent in Gabe Marks out of Washington State. So all is not bare on this roster. If they can just get consistent quarterback play, they can definitely put up some points. That brings us to the cause for concern, the quarterbacks. We keep harping on it because it's so important. And again, you don't have to be an all-time great, but you have to be consistent and reliable week to week. That alone can get you into the playoffs. And it doesn't matter who starts for the Jets, whoever that person is has to bring their A game, B- at least, each and every week to this offense. Every year there's a player on the team that enters the season on the bubble. Maybe he's buried on the depth chart or he's an afterthought, but they end up playing a big role on the team by the season's end. So without further ado, here's my pick for the offensive and defensive breakout candidate. Offensively, look for a rookie to be the breakout candidate for the Jets. 5th round pick Elijah McGuire from the University of Louisiana has good all-around game. He brings terrific vision and explosiveness as a runner, the ability to function in the slot as a receiver, and also is a dynamic kickoff and punt returner. His skills will have him on the field serving a lot of different roles and will prove to be a huge asset to this football team in his first season. Defensively, Deon Timon will make even bigger strides this season. Last year, you saw the massive defensive tackle step up and play well with the departure of Damon Harrison up front, so much so that he looks to push for even more minutes this season. Simon came into the league with the Jets as a 7th round pick back in 2015 and looks to be a fixture along the defensive line. This year, he'll go a long way in cementing that thought. All right, it's prediction time, so here's how I think the 2017 season will play out. The road to the Super Bowl for the Jets goes as follows. Number one, that defense has to become a top 8 defense. And what I'm talking about, I'm speaking of the turnovers. If they can create more turnovers, get more sacks, put the ball back in the hands of that offense, give them more opportunities, this team can definitely make some noise in the AFC. And also the quarterback position has to stabilize again. You don't have to be an all-pro, just don't be a liability from week to week. And the special teams has to become special. You can win a football game by winning 2 out of the 3 facets of a game. Defense and special teams, in my opinion, they have to be the calling card for the Jets in 2017 if they want to find themselves in Minnesota at the end of the season. I have the Jets finishing 4th in the AFC East. The reason being their defense, I believe, will be outstanding. They'll be a top 8 defense. I think they'll get back to what we saw them do in Todd Bowles' first year at the helm. Offensively speaking, they do have some pieces, a young team, to make some noise, to put points up on the board, but I just don't think they'll find that consistency at the quarterback position, which is why I have them bringing up the rear in the AFC East. So that's a wrap for this video. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts as you see listed. And if you want to check out our NFL season previews, as you already should, visit our website at footballgameplan.com/2017 NFL previews. And then finally, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find all of our NFL shows like the Football Cypher, where we go around the table with our football game plan analysts discussing some of the hot topics and answering the burning questions within the game of football. But right now, you can listen to us go more in depth with our thoughts on the 2017 New York Jets season. You can find that podcast and our many others on our website at footballgameplan.com/podcast and on our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/FBGP podcast.